Is Harley-Davidson dying or about to make the biggest comeback in motorcycle history? Because what's happening behind the scenes right now is wild, and you won't believe who's taking their crown. Once a symbol of freedom and rebellion, Harley-Davidson now faces a crisis. With falling sales, unhappy riders, and a brand image under fire, the company is at a crossroads. Its CEO, Jochen Zeitz, has broken the silence, attempting to reassure the public. But the question remains, is this a genuine shift or a strategic move to calm investors? Harley's next steps will be decisive, possibly make or break. The rebellion against Harley. Let's rewind a bit. Harley's reputation has taken a beating over time, largely due to decisions that alienated its core audience. Longtime fans felt the company prioritized politics over motorcycles, pushing diversity initiatives and branding changes that felt out of sync with Harley's rugged legacy. In response to backlash, the company reversed some of these initiatives, promising to refocus on traditional values and committed riders. Still, many weren't buying it. Despite official statements about supporting biker culture and listening to the community, skepticism lingered. Riders voiced doubts over Harley's continued push toward electric motorcycles and corporate environmentalism, moves that seemed more appealing to investors than to everyday bikers. Meanwhile, the brand's stock tumbled and dealerships struggled to stay afloat. That frustration exploded across social media. Calls to boycott Harley echoed online, and the effects were felt on the ground. Dealerships once filled with loyal customers saw foot traffic dry up. Some had to deeply discount bikes just to make sales. It wasn't just the message that felt hollow, it was the sense that Harley no longer stood for the community it once built. Even the most loyal Harley enthusiasts began to look elsewhere. Many found what they were missing in Indian motorcycles, a brand that managed to combine vintage style with solid engineering and a clear sense of identity. Others turned to Japanese makers like Honda and Yamaha, drawn by their reliability and better pricing. What once felt unshakable, the Harley lifestyle, was slipping away. Worsening financials added pressure, revenues dropped, market share shrank, and investors who once believed in Harley's iconic status began to doubt. Small towns built around Harley factories felt the squeeze too, as closures and layoffs rippled through local economies. The brand's turn toward electric vehicles, despite Livewire's failure, only added fuel to the fire. Instead of adjusting course, Harley doubled down on electric bikes, hoping to attract younger, environmentally conscious consumers. But that strategy backfired. The Livewire, Harley's flagship electric motorcycle, missed the mark in nearly every way. It lacked the growl, the feel, and the soul that Harley riders expect. And with a steep price tag nearing $30,000, it was too expensive for most buyers, especially when better electric alternatives were already available. Performance-wise, the Livewire disappointed. Limited range, long charging times, and costly maintenance made it impractical for long rides, the kind Harley is known for. Riders didn't just dislike it, they felt betrayed. Harley's attempt to spin off the Livewire into its own brand only worsened the divide, signaling that Harley was chasing trends instead of staying true to its roots. The rise of the rivals. While Harley was trying and failing to reshape its identity, competitors seized the moment. Indian motorcycles surged ahead, blending classic design with modern performance. Under Polaris, Indian maintained its heritage while offering well-built, stylish bikes like the Challenger, Scout, and Chief. These models struck a chord with riders who wanted tradition without sacrificing quality. Triumph and Royal Enfield also rose in popularity. Triumph's Bonneville series delivered vintage charm without the weight or outdated mechanics of older cruisers. Meanwhile, Royal Enfield attracted cost-conscious riders with models like the Meteor 350 and Interceptor 650, retro appeal at a fraction of Harley's prices. Even BMW entered the cruiser space with the R18, proving that riders would pay premium prices for bikes that deliver on both style and performance. What was once a Harley-dominated market now had options, and many of those options offered better value, dependability, and innovation. Riders began to vote with their wallets, and Harley felt the sting. Japanese manufacturers took advantage of the shift as well. Honda's Goldwing and Rebel captured both touring veterans and entry-level bikers. Kawasaki's Vulcan and Yamaha's Bolt offered reliability and strong performance at lower costs. These companies didn't just match Harley, they often surpassed it in key areas like price, dependability, and rider experience. As these brands surged, Harley found itself out of sync. The company that once symbolized American grit was now struggling to find its footing in a rapidly evolving market. Harley's identity crisis. One of Harley-Davidson's biggest missteps was its unclear identity. Once the embodiment of nonconformity, the brand had transformed into something far more corporate. It began chasing investor approval instead of honoring its roots. Many longtime fans felt alienated by Harley's new focus, one that emphasized sustainability, diversity programs, and electric vehicles over the raw spirit of riding. This shift wasn't just seen as a marketing pivot, it was personal. Riders didn't just see Harley as a brand, they saw it as a lifestyle. When the company sidelined that for sleek, investor-friendly moves, customers took it as abandonment. The separation of the Livewire into a standalone company sent a clear message to many. Harley cared more about market trends than its own legacy. As Harley's grip on its community weakened, rivals thrived. Indian Motorcycles became a serious contender by sticking close to its core identity, heritage-inspired bikes with real performance and thoughtful updates. Riders who felt Harley had forgotten them found Indian's direction refreshing. They got power, nostalgia, and a sense that the brand actually listened. Triumph and Royal Enfield played a similar game but from different angles. Triumph leaned into its rich British history while introducing adventure bikes that expanded its audience. Royal Enfield, meanwhile, offered vintage vibes at unbeatable prices, perfect for younger riders or those just entering the world of motorcycling. BMW approached it differently. The R18 Cruiser proved there was a market for premium, feature-rich bikes that still respected classic design. It was Harley's turf, but done with German precision and without the baggage. The more Harley faltered, the more these companies filled the void. At the same time, American manufacturing's decline mirrored Harley's struggles. Outsourcing production to other countries alienated loyalists who believed in Harley's Made in America identity. While some assembly still happened in the US, the increasing reliance on foreign parts was enough to sour public perception. Factory closures and job losses in small towns didn't help either, compounding the economic damage. Local Harley dealerships felt it too. Sales were down, younger buyers weren't interested, and longtime riders were switching brands. These dealerships, once cultural hubs, now face survival mode, slashing prices and hoping for a turnaround that hadn't come. While Harley wrestled with its identity and shrinking market share, its competitors continued to evolve, blending old-school appeal with modern expectations. And Harley's insistence on high prices became another nail in the coffin. For many younger riders, the brand was simply out of reach. They saw no reason to pay a premium when other manufacturers offered similar or better performance at lower costs. Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha capitalized on this. These Japanese companies had mastered the art of producing reliable, affordable bikes that delivered great riding experiences. Honda's Goldwing provided luxury and comfort for touring enthusiasts, while the Rebel line gave new riders a stylish, accessible entry point. Kawasaki's Vulcan and Yamaha's V-Max brought muscle and attitude without the steep price tag or the maintenance headaches. Meanwhile, Harley's pricing strategy seemed stuck in the past. Bikes were expensive, sometimes unjustifiably so, and many felt the brand was coasting on its name rather than delivering clear value. The company had built a legacy around strong engines, classic design, and an unmistakable sound, but now it was chasing tech trends instead of perfecting what made Harley great in the first place. And while the company focused on new directions, loyalists felt forgotten. Harley's message, once clear and bold, had become muddled. Was it a cutting-edge brand for the eco-conscious urban rider, or was it still the rough, rebellious icon of the open road? That confusion hurt. Without a clear identity, even the best marketing couldn't patch things up. The backlash wasn't just digital, real-world consequences followed. More dealers closed, more customers walked away, and those who stayed often did so reluctantly, hoping Harley would return to form. The damage wasn't irreversible, but it was deep. The lesson from Ducati. There are lessons here, lessons Harley can still learn if it wants to turn things around. Other brands have made comebacks. Indian Motorcycles, for instance, rebuilt itself by embracing its legacy while adding modern touches. The result? A line of bikes that felt both timeless and relevant. Riders responded, so did the market. Royal Enfield took another route, leaning into its heritage while making its bikes affordable and approachable. This formula worked. It brought in beginners, young people, and cost-conscious enthusiasts who wanted classic style without the financial burden. Even Ducati offers a cautionary tale Harley should pay attention to. Known for high-performance motorcycles with sleek Italian design, Ducati once faced serious trouble of its own. While it attracted hardcore sports bike fans, it lacked the emotional pull that brands like Harley had cultivated. Ducati bikes were admired, sure, but they weren't loved in the same way. Customers saw Ducati motorcycles as high-powered machines rather than cultural symbols. And when reliability issues surfaced in the late 90s and early 2000s, the brand struggled to grow beyond a niche audience. Constant maintenance and expensive repairs made Ducati less appealing to the everyday rider. It was respected, but it wasn't trusted. So how did Ducati recover? By embracing the very things it had overlooked: heritage, craftsmanship, and emotional storytelling. Instead of pushing only performance, Ducati started showcasing its unique engineering, its roots in racing, and its Italian design legacy. It was no longer just a fast bike, it was a statement. Then came the Scrambler, a game changer. This retro-inspired model tapped into lifestyle branding, offering something more than speed. It became a gateway for younger riders, and it showed Ducati could evolve without abandoning what made it special. They even addressed their service and quality issues, bringing in customers who had once sworn off the brand. Ducati's transformation wasn't just about the bikes, it was about connection. And that's the path Harley-Davidson must rediscover. To stage a real comeback, Harley has to do more than just tweak its product line. It needs to re-establish trust. That means listening, truly listening, to the riders who built the brand in the first place. It means focusing on quality and performance, while still embracing the soul of the open road. It means making sure each new bike feels like a continuation of Harley's legacy, not a break from it. Harley also has to rethink its pricing. Right now, the cost is locking out the very audience it needs to survive. Younger riders, Indian, Honda, and Royal Enfield are showing that it's possible to deliver a premium feel without a luxury price tag. Harley must find that balance or risk fading further into irrelevance. And crucially, the company has to reclaim its message. Harley-Davidson used to sell more than motorcycles. It sold a feeling, the rush of rebellion, the thrill of independence, the pride of riding something unapologetically American. That message got lost in corporate language, ESG campaigns, and an identity crisis that left riders confused. If Harley wants to matter again, it needs to bring that feeling back. This doesn't mean ignoring the future. Electric bikes are coming whether Harley leads or follows, but the transition must be thoughtful. Instead of chasing headlines, Harley should focus on refining its existing bikes, modernizing them subtly while preserving what makes them special. New models should feel like natural evolutions, not desperate pivots. Marketing also needs a full reset. Instead of stock footage and sanitized language, Harley needs to get back to telling real stories of the road, of its riders, of the grit that built its legend. It should remind the world that riding a Harley isn't just transportation, it's a declaration, a lifestyle, a legacy. This is a pivotal moment. Harley-Davidson can fix what's broken, it can reconnect with its base, sharpen its vision, and once again become a brand that riders are proud to wear on their backs. Or it can continue chasing trends, ignoring criticism, and slowly slide into obscurity. Brands that ignore their heritage rarely survive. Ducati almost didn't. Harley still has time, but not much. So what do you think? Is this Harley's turning point, or is the road ahead too far gone? Let us know in the comments.